Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Overclock Showcase, and well, it's time for a special episode of Overclock Showcase, as it were. Because, of course, if you watched the end of the last episode, then you would know that our Overclock is the third Scout secondary Overclock, and that is going to be the Specialist for the crossbow. Obviously, it would be the third one would be for the crossbow, much like the sixth one will be, and the ninth one, and the 12th one, the 15th one, and the 18th one, and then I guess there probably won't be a 19th and over for the secondary weapons. Actually, I think there's a couple secondary weapons that have 7 overclock. Breach Cutter does. The Burt does. Does the Bulldog have 7 as well? Or is it like just an extra balanced? It's like weird. It's weird. Or does the Bulldog have 4 balanced overclock? Wait, hold on. Okay, no. Yeah. But the Burt's got 7. Like I said, the Breach Cutter. Any of Drillers? I don't think so. No. There are only 2 secondary weapons that have more than 6 overclocks. Obviously, that's not the case for. Well, every weapon has 7. Every primary weapon has 7 overclocks now, except the Warthog. Poor Warthog. Anyway, yeah, we're doing the Specialist. And the reason why I think this is a special episode is because I think the Specialist, unlike any overclock, especially, obviously, specifically, unlike any crossbow overclock, I don't think there's any reason to not try and show a build with all 3 special bolts. Also, look at the logo. That's a little bit of a shoddy bit of design work there. How the logo is basically touching the border of the icon. Not good. Yeah, I thought that made sense because I think Specialist is very particularly skewered towards special bolts in such a generic way, even though it's a Specialist. But I don't see why I wouldn't show you a build with with pheromones, chemical explosions, and bolt taser. So yes, this will be a special episode because this will be very likely the only episode of Overclock Showcase where I show you 3 builds, 3 different builds. Obviously, the usual approach is to show you 2 of the most different builds that I can. And I will be talking, by the way, about DRG Astoria's most recent video in this video, and how I think hopefully I'm exempt from his criticisms. Not 100%, definitely not 100%, but somewhat for sure. And this will either be a way for me to really either prove that or accidentally disprove it. That I am exempt. I personally think I am, and I'll explain why as we go through. But yeah, so we've got a build with the Specialist for every special bolt. Specialist, of course, increases the just effectiveness of special bolts. It increases their duration, the effect duration, and the amount that you have. Very simple, but very effective. And it's effective because Boltshark is just kind of very, very good. It's an amazing weapon. It's like an A tier weapon, I would say. And obviously the special bolts are a massive part of that. I think a lot of the overclocks come across as really tempting. In fact, all of the balanced and unstable overclocks change the main bolts, and that's the point. I think they clearly went into the Boltshark with the idea of special bolts. They're really just alternate bolts. They're not actually special because most of the overclocks are going to change your main bolt as well. We're going for a long selection of different bolt types, but some of them are achieved through upgrades, some of them are achieved through overclocks. And that's okay, but the Specialist kind of does away with that, and it's just like, nope, you're just focusing on the ones that you get from upgrades. The tier 1 of the special bolts. I will say, though, I do think the Boltshark's overclocks do lean in a specific direction, which is, I think you can kind of map them all to overclocks, all to specific special bolts. Because the bolt that I could have left out is definitely pheromones. I don't think pheromones pair with the Specialist particularly well, because I think the pheromones are very particularly designed to pair with fire bolts and cryo bolts. Much like taser bolts are designed to go with Specialist, or potentially Trifault. I think it kind of maps out quite well. I would say they are for Trifault body because you get the electric damage bonus, but also maybe quick fire because you can shoot them fast and you kind of need to shoot quite a few to really get something effective out of them. I think Bodkin points and Specialist also work extremely well with explosive bolts. Although I would say in general you shouldn't feel too limited, except for The only one I would say is like pretty definitive is pheromones and firebolts. I mean, it's kind of undeniable. And this was a lot of what DRG Historian was talking about. It's about he's very critical of build videos that are very dogmatic about how you should play, about how you should build a weapon or even an entire class. And I think I try not to be. I definitely used to be that way. That's kind of what Build Showcase was, even though the point of Build Showcase was not to show you the best build every week. It was to show you a build that I had found that I thought was interesting. When it comes to the Build Showcases and now the Overclock Showcases, it's always been my intention to try and highlight something either I think is exceptionally good or surprisingly good. Overclock Showcase, I achieved that by means of randomization. Given that I have to tackle a random overclock each week, it kind of forces me to potentially end up highlighting something that I don't even think is good. But the thing is, as such a veteran player, there is a good chance that something that I don't think is good is probably just not good. However, I still give an honest attempt to provide builds that are good with that overclock. Which is why I kind of feel like I'm encouraging experimentation. Because I'm showing you that there's a way to use an overclock that you might not be able to come up with a way to use it that you like. So I hope I sort of am of some use in that department. Anyway, the point is, I could have left out pheromones, but I'm not going to, because I think I want to make this the one video where I do this specific thing, where I show you 3 different builds. But we're starting with actually my favourite, only because I got a double XP elimination to use for it. And that is with taser bolts. Now, taser bolts have been the weirdest one throughout my journey with the Boltshark, and maybe throughout a lot of people's. I do wonder if actually the meta has really been established yet, because not that I think they're completely unusable for these purposes, but taser bolts, they're not for AoE. They're not for crowd clearing. They're not even really for crowd control. And you might think they are because you set up these electric, like, fences, basically. But then you think about it. Pheromones are all crowd control. They just make enemies attack other enemies. Chemical bolts are all crowd clearing. Obviously, they do add a little bit of long-lasting damage over time to an enemy that is useful in some circumstances, but they are mainly used to achieve this explosion effect. Taser bolts might seem like a hybrid of the two, but they're actually not. I mean, they are if you're weird. But if you really know what's up, you know that special bolts, their best use, not their only use, this is me trying not to be dogmatic, their best use is actually single targets. But taser bolts are actually single target monsters. And this is something that has only been amplified by the recent addition of a certain Drak Overclock. Conductive thermals takes this thing to a whole new level. I mean, you might not actually think that it does, because you might be thinking about either fire on the boomstick or on the Boltshark, or maybe the cryo as well. You might not be thinking about the electric aspect of conductive thermals. I can't stop thinking about it. And I really want to make good use of it, and I have. This was strong beforehand anyway, but now it lets you do so much more, because basically, what happens when a single taser bolt does okay damage over time. It's actually an okay thing to use against sort of weaker enemies, like anything sort of like acid spitters, sort of around the acid spitter sort of health mark. It's actually a good idea. We would still use a little bit of our Drak on them though to amplify the effect just a little bit. It still overall is much more ammo effective. A big difference though came from Praetorians actually, because Praetorians, well, what happens is you usually want to be using 2 bolts on an enemy, because the 2 bolts creates the electric fence effect, and that effect itself deals a lot of damage itself, along with the damage that the taser bolts are already doing. And this actually applies to every sort of strand of electricity that is affecting an enemy, meaning another bolt creating 2 more, potentially, strands of electricity will add that damage on. It becomes pretty absurdly powerful. You usually only need 2 bolts, though. Especially with what we're doing right now with Dreadnoughts. 3 bolts would be really overkill, because you kind of get through the stages of the Dreadnought's health so quickly. You get to their invulnerable stage so quickly. So you may need to be using 2 bolts, and then we amplify that effect with conductive thermals. But also, Praetorians, it would make more sense to use 2 bolts, but now you can kind of get away with using 1, and mixing in with conductive thermals and a bit of normal bolt action too, which is honestly, it's the crazy thing about Specialist. I kind of think it could get away with being balanced and actually reducing your normal bolt capacity. because normal bolts, they're not used for much except for taking out the odd high value target, or just a grunt that you can't bother to take out any other way. But they're there, and we will be using them a little bit, but the main star of the show is, of course, the taser bolts, and that's why, and this is the case for all three of these builds, you're taking expanded special quiver, and you're taking potent special bolts. I think that's actually not the case for one. Is it you? It is you, and that's fine. We'll get to that. You could also arguably still take potent special bolts, but that's the thing. I always give alternatives. You don't need magnetic shafts though. You could use magnetic shafts, but I would not recommend it. I don't think you're getting that much use out of it. It's not a horrible idea. It's not. Yeah, this is the thing. I will always stand by this. Most things are not horrible ideas. I would acknowledge when something's not a horrible idea, but I am also trying to tell you what might be stronger. I still encourage experimentation, but that doesn't mean I'm not telling you what I think is the best way to use something. And best means strongest. It does not mean the most fun. Fun is also very important. So if you want to lead by fun, absolutely go down that route. But if you want to be as strong as possible, try what I'm suggesting first. I always think people should just try everything. It makes perfect sense, but just try that. Tier 3, stabilizing arm brace. Yeah, so the reason for this is actually not for swapping bolts, which it normally is when you're going for like fire bolts and pheromone bolts or something, or trifle volley with magnetic taser bolts or something. You often want to be using it to swap between bolts. We mainly want this actually to reload because we're going to want to hit certain enemies with 2 bolts as quickly as possible. So that's pretty simple reasoning there. And then Battle Frenzy is basically the #1 use for our normal bolts, and it makes sense to take Battle Frenzy here because we can't use radio transmitter module on the taser bolts anyway, which I don't think makes that much sense, because the amount of damage that taser bolts do to enemies walking over them when they're on the ground is so minimal, and this is when they're not connected to another taser bolt. It's so minimal that I don't think you should even be there, and you should be able to pick them up unless they've been attached to another taser bolt. Then you can make it so they can't be picked up. But as it stands, you can't pick taser bolts up, so it makes more sense to use Battle Frenzy. Of course, we could still pick up the normal bolts, but that's not like a huge deal. Battle Frenzy is going to be a bit more useful. I do have Stun Sweepers, but that's just because they're so universally good, and you can amplify their very small damage with Conductive Thermals. Anyway. Speaking of which, Conductive Thermals is built very simply. Got ammo and fire rate and accuracy just to help with sort of general usability and longevity. Manual heat dump, tier 5 does not matter. Tier 4, however, I used to have a really good time actually with overcharged PCF, and it is fun, especially because it's like kind of just just lava enemies with electricity. And because of the nature of Conductive Thermals, it usually kills them. But Plasma Splash is the best thing to use for Conductive Thermals on the Drak itself. It makes it a very strong crowd clearer because Plasma Splash has a fire damage component that is amplified by Conductive Thermals damage bonuses. The Plasma Splash gets a lot out of that, and also lets you hit a lot of enemies at once very easily. That comes more into play when you're using something like fire bolts, but it still works out quite well. It means we can just hit the enemies as well easier that we want to amplify the status effects of. Even if that's just a single target, which is going to be for the most part in our elimination, because I think I need to start the mission at this point. Pretty long intro given I'm going to be doing 3 builds. I don't intend to making the missions particularly long though. I still want to keep this video at least under an hour and a half, you know. Because I think the longest build showcase was still just under 2 hours, or just over. That was a while ago. That was like one of the first build showcases though. I think I realised early on I want to be aiming for like an hour and 10 at most. Ideally, it would be lower. It just kind of ends up going that way. But yeah, so how is everyone? Anyway, I'm doing pretty good though. A lot of stuff to look forward to. Life's life's not strange. It's just a bit uncertain in terms of the future. Not necessarily things will be secure, more so just general what I'll be doing. Like, kind of need to get a PC at some point for road core purposes, and what I do have the money for it, I don't have like an income, and I don't actually feel like good about making such a big sort of luxury purchase without actually having some kind of income. It feels wrong, so I definitely need to, you know, start working. To be honest, I'll be finishing uni very soon. Although there is work involved with uni that is not to be scoffed at. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff to look forward to, man. Like, especially video games wise. I think there are so many valid complaints about sort of where a lot of artistic and creative industries are at and sort of problems with them. I think there's actually a lot of problems, especially video games. You have things like layoffs, but what I don't appreciate is when people complain that there's nothing good out there, nothing good already that's come out recently, and nothing good coming up. It's just complete bullshit. And I feel like you can talk to these people, and they'll like, you will tell them about certain games, and they'll probably just pass them. Like, you know, Avowed. I think I talked about it last time. It's a fantastic game. It just genuinely is. It's got a lot of themes, and there are a lot of things I could be critical of. Like, I think there's a lot of floating plants. Right, there's things that actually are a little bit immersion breaking, to be honest. But it's like, I don't know why things are ruined for people so easily. You know, even if something is only just about more good than bad, that's still a good thing. You know, that's still a good product. I don't like the word product, but that's still a good piece of media. And I think a lot of people don't really see things that way, and so they find it hard to think things are like exciting or there's stuff to be excited about. But there is. I mean, maybe something that people can agree on a bit more is probably Doom the Dark Ages. I mean, if Deep Rock somehow didn't exist, Doom the Dark Ages would be my most anticipated game of the year by miles. But that's the thing. It's Rogue Core and Doom the Dark Ages together. Now, I'm trying to make sure you see that infected die, so forgive me if I like do things that are not very smart. That was actually really a perfect use of normal bolts in this build. Did that normal bolt land in Molly? Good. I'm going to try and link some Praetorians together. Good. Oh, that's not good. Okay, so this should be pretty easy. And Menace is the kind of thing I probably don't want to use Hazer bolts against, to be honest. If I did, it would probably be one, but I'm mainly just going to try and hit its weak points with the fellas. That should die. And it's the thing. This is just a single taser, but even though you get so much more damage out of two, you can still do so much work with one. Because the effects just last so damn long. There you go. Alright. Do this thing. Like this prospector, I'm not going to use two for one segment, because I just don't need to. Patrol bots as well are honestly a one bolt job. Okay. Although actually, given oh shit. Okay, I need to evasive maneuvers. Came from there, didn't I? Oh shit. Yeah, my health has gone down a bit more than I would have liked, but I promise I will not fail. I hope you've already seen damage that we can deal to single targets with this, and how well. I guess it looks bad that we've already used about half our ammo actually. But it's also not, because this is actually where, in missions like this, is where a lot of your ammo usage comes from. It comes from clearing rooms. We had like 5 Praetorians, like a Barrage Infector, a Breeder, a Brood Nexus. Now we're fighting a Prospector. I think our ammo usage has been perfectly fine actually. I'm gonna try not to use crossbow against this guy though, because I've got a bit of Boltshark ammo, Drak ammo to spare. Anyway. Oh, we're gonna just take out both. We need to take out both thingamajigs, both engines. I guess they're engines. Now, this is the kind of horde of enemies that I would love to use taser bolts on, and I think I'm gonna try it. Let's try it. Let's give it a go. I don't normally do this. Okay, that worked out pretty well. It's just that obviously for me, these bolts are more for single target. The only problem with this. Oh dear. That's a stalker problem. Stalkers are different. Stalkers are not build dependent. We cannot blame the build for that one. I'm sure you all have the sense to agree. Also, I do see things like eliminations. Like when there's only two dreadnoughts, there's still 3 rooms in total. So I think that is like 3 resupplies worth roughly. So we can use about this amount of ammo. That's actually okay before the first dreadnought, because there's a lot of nitro around it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Basically, Roadcore is like, easily my most anticipated game of the year, but if it didn't exist, it would be Dark Ages. As in, hold on, did a mega sneeze. They're like, those 2 games are like number 1 basically. As in, it goes Roadcore, then Doom, but then what's next is quite far behind. I actually don't really know what's behind. Like, I actually don't know. I haven't thought about too deeply, so that's the thing. It would be Gears of War E-Day if that was definitely coming out this year, but I don't think it is. Oh no, it probably isn't. I think we would have seen gameplay by now. I mean, Avowed was one of them though, actually, to be fair. And that's out, and it's great. So, yeah. I just might use a taser bolt on the men with the higher health. Actually, I mean, that will die. You're gonna die from that. I assume. Okay, thank God. Oh, I think that's enough for that malarkey. Gonna go find another cocoon. Oh. Oh, that's actually annoying. I want them grouped together. I want all 3. Okay. Put myself in danger for very thing to do. Well, this is the kind of thing where I wouldn't even need really use conductive thermals, but it kind of just speeds things up a bit. Which is fine, because we have so much, like, comparatively, we just have so much ammo on the back. Hello. Well done, Bosco. These idiots. Shit. The weird thing about actually the Boltshark, for purposes of the video, is if the build is focused on like special bolts, it's really like it's like having 3 weapons, which means, you know, one of them's not going to get used that often. Anyway, normal dreadnought. This is easy. At every stage, we just shoot. Okay. Anyway, we shoot 2 bolts into it. I think we technically do have the taser effect going on. So, shoot 2 bolts into it, and just lather it up with thermals. Watch the magic happen. Beautiful. And we've got a little bit left over from the previous one, so we actually get like the mega tasers going on. It's always wonderful. Yeah, this isn't going to be a problem. The normal dreadnought is almost trivialized by this. Oh shit. That's not a problem. Do that. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh, okay. Got it. That took far too long. Do I actually have 2 going right now? I feel like it. Oh, I don't. Here we go. Right, now he's dead. Easy. Although I ended up using up 10 bolts, I think, but... Is that a problem? Is using up half your ammo a problem? It's just the ease, because we can just shoot the taser bolts on him anywhere, and then shoot or Drak at him anywhere to apply the effect. It just works wonderfully. I love it. So good. I also do like sort of consider it a little bit of a discovery of mine, to be honest. Not that other people don't use it. This is actually the same as ultramagnetic coils, where I think people have realised that there's something there, and I don't think I popularised it either. I definitely didn't, but I still discovered it myself before I realised anyone else had, which is nice when that happens. It seems to have happened to me a couple times with Deep Rock. Hopefully, it'll happen a couple times in Road Core as well. But maybe even more than a couple times. I think we're going to be pretty, like, invested in finding cool shit. Cool ways to play builds in Road Core. Very exciting stuff. Anyway, so you saw how this is a boss killer. It's not going to do this good against, like, a Caretaker, for example. I think taser bolts do... I think they do hurt the Caretaker. But, you know, we've actually had 2 bosses already. We did a Prospector, so that counts, I think, sort of showing how this works. Be great against plenty of other things, like high HP enemies as well, like really tough, dense enemies, like detonators and oppressors. Very good against them. Other boss enemies, like the thingamabob, her name, Betsy. Very good against Betsy. And once again, all the no real cost. We still have our normal, like relatively powerful bolts, and just kill shit with when we need to. Not that they're like incredible or anything, but they're usable, very usable. Oh, shit. Oh no! Mine. It's gonna be a taser bolts on the floor situation. Yeah, maybe not. I was thinking about it. Alright. What's going on here? Another scale bramble. And another breeder too. Wow. Amazing. Actually, really what I should be doing is setting the breeder up to die before I do anything else. Where is it? Where's it gone? Where has it gone? What the fuck? What the? What the hell? There you are. Oh shit. What have I done this myself? Oh. Whatever the nodules. Yeah, they're over there. Okay. Okay, it's fine.
All nodules destroyed. The scale bramble is now. Don't let him flank you.
I will, I'm gonna laser bolt. Oh no! Oh! Such a pathetic fall to die from. Ugh. Tepid tea. Awful. Pretty much every time as well. Every time I have tea, it always ends up being tepid. Bosco. I mean, I hate shit like that. Like, no, I don't think I deserve for Bosco to block my shot. Like, just straight up. I don't deserve it. Not I necessarily should automatically hit everything on target. It just shouldn't be absorbed by a friendly ally that doesn't take damage. I hope we can all agree on that. If we can't, we're going to have a big problem. Anyway, so obviously we're going to have twins or the Hive Guard, and honestly, it doesn't matter which we get. I think I probably prefer Hive Guard, but the bolts are no less usable in either fight. They're actually really good against the twins, weirdly enough, because you can kind of just set them up to take like massive damage over time at the same like rate, basically. And if we get the twins, I'll probably try and do something like that. Okay, there we go. Honestly, after saying it, I was expecting to get Hive Guard, but it's the twins, and that's okay. Not that I would ever want twins myself. That's horrible. Having children sounds horrible. Oh, no, sir. Not me. Not that I could if I wanted to. Well, they're actually going to heal. They are. I didn't think they were that far apart. Why is the Lacerator stunned? What the fuck is that? Holy shit. Okay, it doesn't actually do anything, but it looks like Steve can technically stun Dreadnought. He makes it so that the icon appears, but I know he's not actually stunning. Dude, will you stop that? Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding. I'm gonna 1 bolt that guy, 2 bolt this guy. Genius. Might actually just death sentence the Arbalest. Actually, I know what I'm going to do now. That thing's... The Arbalest is going to die. Anyway, so I'm just going to do that. And then that happens. Oh, I love that. Oh, that was so good. Wasn't that incredible? Alright, let's go. We're gonna keep this short. So, what were my 2 deaths? What was the second death, actually? Oh, I died from a pathetic fall. Not the build's fault. I think you can see the really sort of powerful single target capabilities here. Obviously, the original discovery was that you can get really good single target by just hitting an enemy with 2 taser bolts. But with the addition of conductive thermals, we can handle certain, even certain heavy threats with 1 bolt and mixing a bit conductive thermals. And it just makes the process a lot more efficient along the way, and provides a really easy means of crowd clearing. It's kind of like, you could use other things. I actually used to use aggressive venting in the Drak, actually, but now we have a way of getting pretty decent AoE while also enhancing the actual damage over time effect. So I'm going to do this Praetorian though traditional style, so just 2 taser bolts, and just let them do the work. Although I'm not sure if it actually doesn't kill it, that means conductive thermals is an even more valuable asset. But it does, because the bolts, they just last a ridiculously long time. It is like 22 seconds, I'm pretty sure. But you don't even need, or it's really just there to speed things up, to be honest, or to make single bolt sort of kills work better. Yeah, laser bolts, baby. Go. I don't actually know what I'm going to do next. I'm probably going to do pheromones next, because it's sort of, I think it's the weakest of the 3. Not that I think pheromones are the weakest. I think pheromones are arguably the most reliably useful of the 3, honestly. In fact, that's definitely the case, but not on solo. Solo's a bit different, which is also kind of weird when I think, consider the fact that firebolts on solo is like one of the strongest things in the game. So, you don't quite know what I'm saying. So I think I'm probably going to switch to Season 2 once I've got Season 1 to level 200. That makes sense. I kind of have this weird thing, I'm just not trying to do this, but I'm sort of relatively going for a thing where I get them all to level 500, all the seasons. But it's going to happen naturally, not forcibly. Anyway, pheromones. Where's pheromones? Here. Look at this guy. Look at him. His weird armor. I think the Skullcrusher scout armor is a bit weird. You know, sometimes it actually looks pretty good, but I think it's the worst of the 4. Either way, here we are. That should be ammo. I'm using electric reload, as you can see. Let's just not talk about that just yet. Boltshark. It's the same in a lot of ways. We also have potent special bolts here, which I think is necessary because the pheromones, I think, have the shortest duration. Actually, no, they do. Taser bolts 19.5. Okay. Poison bolts 18.2, but that can be 22.8. Man, that's interesting. Okay, I think I'm still going to keep it that way though. Yeah, look, pheromones though. We do have radio transmitter and reinforced string. I think these are both very useful for this. We're not really comboing bolts, so, and pheromones do a lot of work with a single pheromone. So we're not comboing much. We don't need to shoot out many bolts very quickly, but we do want them to hit their targets. So both of these things kind of help with that. And Battle Frenzy, I mean, we're not going to get much out of that movement speed, really. We can be controlling the flow of combat very, very powerfully. That's why I've taken Electrifying Reload. Now, a good option would also be something like Aggressive Venting. And actually, the best option would be Impact Deflection, I think, because that's both quite good AoE and single target damage. I, however, did want to use a different primary for every build. So I thought, what's the way I can use the GK2? Electric Reload, because what Pheromones allows us to do is Electric Reload is already extremely good. As long as you're good at running and gunning, it's an insanely efficient and just bonkersly powerful way to deal with pretty much everything. But that does rely a bit on running and gunning. But what Pheromones allows us to do is control the flow of combat so that we can just take our time to embed an electric detonator in enemies much more safely, basically. And it just handles general grunts and sort of high value targets very well. The thing is, single targets are a bit of a weird thing because we mainly use heavy targets as fulcrum points for our pheromones. If there's an oppressor or a praetorian or I guess a warden as well, there are pheromone targets. And so we usually want them to just be chipped away by the enemies that are being distracted by them. So, which makes single target not that big of a concern. It's not something we need to go in for. So we kind of just achieve single target through them getting chipped away by other enemies. We can use like a normal bolt as a finisher. We can add some supplementary damage with our electrifying reload. Which, by the way, electrifying reload is just such a stupidly powerful overclock. It's built for just general usability. You can see I don't have any rate of fire boost, but that's because electrifying reload doesn't really make the gun weaker. You have a bit less ammo, but you don't lose any damage and you don't lose any rate of fire. So I'm taking accuracy, I'm taking ammo, magazine size 2, just a little bit better than recoil for electric reload. Armor breaking is good. It helps the normal bolts a little bit. And it also helps you embed because obviously if you hit a Praetorian's armor without breaking it, you're not embedding the electric detonator in it. I think the same goes for guards as well if you hit their heaviest armor. Obviously heavy armor ignores the effect, but if you break the armor at the same time, it doesn't. And also it just helps us get through the armor anyway, whether we break it with one shot or not, which we usually won't. And then stun as well, because it's kind of nice to have. But I'm using cryo grenades. Why am I using cryo grenades? It allows us to press pause on larger hordes of enemies in a way that we can't with normal pheromone bolts, but without just deferring to more pheromones from the pheromone grenade. You could absolutely use the pheromone grenade. I think either one makes sense, but this kind of just allows us to lock down a target or menu targets and just obliterate them. Which is to say, it can be a bit of a single target thing like oppressors, although I think you need 2 for oppressors, so maybe not. But because we have so much control over the flow of combat already, it's kind of for things like breeders. Just like it, and that's 2 cryo grenades, but in this case, I think that's fine. So yeah, that is the rundown on how I'm using pheromones. Like I've already sort of talked about, pheromones I think are the weakest of these builds. I think they are not particularly well suited to specialists because pheromones pair so well with certain other things, with fire bolts and cryo bolts, which I think they're meant to. But pheromones are always eminently usable because they make you so useful in a team scenario. Unfortunately, teammates never acknowledge the fact that you've chosen a tanky enemy to sort of sustain things, right? To be the pheromone, to be the mule, the taunter, basically, to distract enemies. And they will just go. In fact, it's almost like sometimes it genuinely feels like you're highlighting an enemy for your friends to kill, which is obviously the opposite of what it's supposed to be. Anyway, it's actually good because exploder reasons, because they just are using exploders now to kill Orients, which works just fine. Nice. Okay. See? Dystrom here. I wonder if there'll be Dystrom and Rocore. Which there won't be, because I'm pretty sure none of the minerals are making it over. Which is interesting. I think gold would be in the kit. But as far as we know, no minerals are carrying over to Rocore. Not even Nitra, which is kind of wild. That's because Nitra... It's kind of like Nitra and Morkite have both been replaced by Explanite. Sort of like this Omni metal, like this super metal. Like just gonna do everything. It's both currency, it's like the main thing you need to get. It buys like upgrades and things like that. The ultimate mineral. How did I not hit that loot bug? Why am I not hitting that loot bug? I'm hitting it. I thought it might be the invincible loot bug for a second there. Invincible. best thing about Praetorians, though, Praetorians are actually quite good at killing these weaker enemies like grunts with their sort of melee attacks and the sort of lingering damage from the poison breath.
Follow my men.
Also, we kind of have our own other form of pheromone, which is taking big risks and dying for it, which is Beastmaster. It kind of acts as its own taunt because thieves just attract other enemies. Also, we will occasionally use guards as our pheromone vessels. Catalysts, if you will. Also, I don't know if I'm going to kill that Betsy now. I think I'll probably do it after the first swarm. Probably have taken a resupply by the time I fight her. I think that makes the most sense. So yeah, even though this build is pretty strong, as long as there's a sort of an enemy that can be used as a catalyst, you can control the flow of combat very well. Your offensive capabilities are quite low. And you could remedy that. I think, like I said, I think impact deflection is actually a very good pairing for this. If you want to use that instead, go ahead. If you just want to use something that's good at single target, go ahead. You're so good at crowd control that you might as well. But I see electric reload is just so versatile for me. It just feels like the right thing to pair with pheromone bolts. But I can see why something single target focused actually makes a lot of sense. So, you know, just go your own way. You can take my suggestion either as a jumping off point or just a suggestion. The thing that I hope more so is that the build that I propose for the Overclock itself, for the weapon that Overclock is for, I am putting a bit more stock in that. Once again, all up to you, but that's the one that I'm saying is a bit more like, this is the way to go, you know? However, in this case, this is not me saying this is the way to go with Specialist. This is me saying this is the way to go with Pheromone Bolts Specialist. Quite a particular case. Anyway, you can kind of see Electric Reload as like the pheromone, no, the neurotoxin of like the GK2. But it just kills normal grunts over time so easily. What's that guard doing? He's actually got enough health where I can still use him, I think. Although there's a Praetorian over here, which is better, obviously. The fuck shit? Stop moving. What the fuck? I would literally not stop moving. Shit. Okay, so I hope you saw pretty effective crowd control there, but it's now time to. So I haven't used resupply, but I don't need to. I will try and find some health, a little bit, but now I think it's time to go kill a Betsy. Fortunately, Betsy is not like, I mean, pheromones does not really mean anything to Bets. It does though. Which is why I'm probably going to try and use Betsy. Let's wait for an ambush, and then we'll tackle Betsy. I think it works. I think Betsy still attracts enemies when pheromoned. As in, all I was saying is that there's no point shooting pheromone bolts at Betsy by herself. But I think as long as there's stuff around, it will still work as normal. Obviously, he's quite the powerhouse. She's obviously stronger as an enemy than as an ally. So maybe it'll work to her advantage quite well. Because a good way to see pheromone bolts is actually like a mini sort of Stevification that you do to any enemy, basically. It's like you can basically turn a bolt detonator against its friends. Or an oppressor. Okay, here we go. Kill her! Kill her, lads! Put the Exploder Brigade on her. Shit. Fortunately, Betsy might still target us. In fact, I'm not sure she can target bugs, even with pheromones. So maybe that is something to keep in mind. I know it's Hazard 5, but she's overtuned. It's not right. What this woman is capable of. I mean, she's no weaker than a normal woman, to be honest, but... Or no stronger than. It's actually what all women can do under the right circumstances. Okay, good. And yes, we will be using Betsy. Fuck it. In fact, like the only thing that I don't like using in these, like, the only bonus sort of power, I guess, is jetty boots. I'll take patrol bots. I'll take Betsy's. I'll take all that stuff. Anyway, so it still worked well there. I mean, we can see how we can use under certain circumstances. We use exploders to quite good effect against boss enemies. That was quite fun to see. Anyway, probably another swarm soon, but I'll see you then. Or about the Bacteria spawn, who thing is I'm not going to pheromone these guys anyway. But that's kind of just me showing off how good fucking electric reload is. Where'd that bolt go? I just shot a bolt. Oh, is that it? What? Oh, already dead. That's quick. Betsy might actually be skewing this a little bit. But what Betsy does is actually, she's almost like a substitute. If you combine Bosco and Betsy's firepower, you have like a substitute teammate, basically. Maybe it's not that inaccurate of an experiment overall. Kind of grasping at straws there, but you know, pick what you can get. I've got a Bacteria swarm coming in. That is actually awful. We'll basically just have to use Brundles as our targets. Brundles and Goo Bombers as our pheromone catalysts. So I kind of built the pipes the wrong way, so now I'm trying to make sure there's no intersection or crossing of wires. Although actually, what Bacterias also are is an opportunity for normal bolts to show their worth. Except when you don't hit the weak point, which is the strongest argument I've found so far for using what's it? Taking broadhead bolts, just upgrading the base bolt damage. This is like the strongest argument I've found for myself. Also, but the normal bolts, they still do a lot of damage to goo bombers when you hit their weak point, though. Kind of great. That went pretty well, actually. I just kept things in control by focusing on the goo bombers and the Brundles. So, although no tri-jaws, but I don't think that would have changed much. I hope it wouldn't have done.
I think we're actually doing all right so far.
I think that was fairly comprehensive and realistic. Yeah.
Ammo taken. Yeah, give me some sugar.
Anyway, I'm just going to beeline to actually doing the refining aspect of the mission. This. That steam tail is dead. That was fantastic. I actually really like that. You can see how this would be really useful on explosive infestation. And it is. Explosive infestation is like not, well, it's not really a hard warning, but you can do some work with pheromone bolts and explode infestation. As in, like, if it's a double warning, for example, it's gonna make that double warning a lot easier. I don't really know what the exception would be. Honestly, okay, so this is assuming that, and I don't feel like I'm assuming. I think I know this. I guess it's what assuming is. But I think I know that you can use pheromones on the unknown horror, and that's going to make haunted caves interesting. I honestly, that wouldn't have been a bad idea to go down that route deliberately, but you know, it's, done. This is the mission, so. Huh.
The pumps are working as fast as they can. Keep it up. Pump sequence at 25%.
Let there be light.
What was it I used? Oh well, yeah. I was about to ask myself what I used the blow through embedded detonators for. I was like, well, it was for the embedded detonators video, obviously.
This pipeline is fixed, but there are more outstanding issues.
I'm actually, yeah, I'm going to call this video specialist is generally the best option. Maybe. Believe in Steve.
The extraction of liquid morkite is running again. Keep up the good work. We'll be done.
I was hoping to actually get some like interesting use out of using the pheromones to keep enemies away from the pipelines. You don't need to do that technically, like for the mission purposes, but just to sort of keep them clear to help you repair them. In case anyone didn't know, the mission just breaks the pipes on a rotor. It's not actually, they're not actually affected by enemies attacking them. So if you've ever heard someone in like a tip video explain ways to keep enemies away from the pipelines, stop watching them immediately. They are a fraud. Yeah.
Extraction has stopped. Must be due to jammed pipelines. Get it fixed.
Lighting up.
There's like no enemies around. That's actually kind of dumb. It's actually... Hello, Steve. Oh, yeah, John. Oh, yeah, Harry.
Pipeline functional again. However, we still have malfunctions in the system.
But one of the best things they did for electric reload is make it so that, well, okay, by basically having electric reload not have a damage penalty like it used to, it can now one-shot swarmers without any damage upgrades.
Sequence at 75%. You're doing good.
Is, you know, one of the best things ever.
All the noise is pulling in the locals. Take them out before they gnaw up our pipelines.
Okay, honestly, we didn't really even need the pheromones during the last half of that. I think Betsy did a lot of work as well, and it's just not that much. Honestly, I think the second part of on-site refining is actually the easier part. That was incredible. That death animation, I love that. Well, it wasn't really animation; it's just a ragdoll. Actually, the opposite of an animation.
Into orbit. We're sending in the dropper to get you out. Hang tight.
Yes! I don't know why I'm hanging out in this pit.
Lights up!
That poor guard.
Departing in T-minus 3 minutes.
Everyone was out to get him just because he smelled bad. Or good. I don't know what it means. I think it's good. I think it's actually because they smell really good. And the Alpha Glyphids want to eat them.
One of the books.
I guess.
Leaving escape pod.
Brilliant, that was pheromone bolts. Yeah, very usable. Very strong. Not the perfect way to use them, but honestly, when you look at that and you look at the amount of enemies that there are, you only really need to go down the firebolt route pheromones if you're playing on more enemies ×2 or something. Don't know when I'm gonna make those videos. I don't know what those videos are. I had this idea of doing something as can you beat Hazard 5 plus 8 with no upgrades. I still want to do that. Oh look, now it's a elimination. I'm not doing that because next up is of course the explosive chemical bolt build. What works well for that? I wouldn't mind a warning, although I don't think that Terror Plague's the best one either. So probably gonna be stuck with. Yeah, all right, that sounds good. I'm gonna put more enemies on. I'm gonna show some balls, because explosive chemical bolts handle a lot of enemies actually very well, under the right circumstances. So yeah, let's pivot now to the. Which this is actually a build that I have done for the most part before. Very similar at least. It was called the Big Game Hunter. And it did use explosive chemical bolts, although it also used Bodkin points. But it did use active stability system M1000, because of course this is the M1000 build, but chemical bolts. So they lodge themselves in the enemy and they deal damage over time, and as long as the effect is still active when the enemy dies, the enemy explodes. And I do think the explosion is relative to the size of the enemy as well. There's a very strong explosion. It can easily one-shot grunts and causes pretty strong fear and stun. So it's a really great effect. It's got this damage over time and the AoE aspect are both very powerful. So I just find them great bolts. Banshee module. Banshee module's a weird one because it almost sounds counterintuitive. But it's not exactly because of how it works. It is if you shoot the floor. If you shoot an enemy, it's going to fear itself and likely other enemies around it. This is especially useful for enemies that are, if the enemy that you shoot with the explosive chemical bolt is at the front, or even quite far in front of the horde, you shoot it and it will get feared and turn and run back into the horde and explode. It actually does happen more than you'd think. Also, relay speed is actually good here because we want to be switching often, because while the M1000 is absolutely a tool to kill enemies, the M1000 and the special, the normal bolts are essentially one and the same. Our normal bolts and our M1000 pretty much do the same amount of damage. So they're both going to be used to just quickly finish off enemies that we've poisoned. and to deal sort of to switch, combo them together to deal decent single target damage as well. And as a result, I feel pretty comfortable actually going for damage over max ammo here. That is up to you, but I think it hits some nice breakpoints. I think it hits the slasher breakpoint, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but we got that. We got unbreaking. We got the bonus damage there. We also got super blow through rounds. However, don't know why, but I just find it to be a bit better than weak point damage in this case. Stun as well just helps us control the enemies that we do hit. We get our fear from the Boltshark itself and the explosions that are caused. Stun sweeper because it's just a little bit too good to not use. And let's see if I can put my money where my mouth is. I think really one of the only times that I truly did that was with ultramagnetic coils, where I boasted about my level and someone commented on that and like affirmed my boastfulness. I typically avoid boastfulness like the plague. I am. That's ridiculous to say. I'm a very modest person. That's just observational. I don't boast about my achievements or like competencies at all. Don't have that many. Really, I'm good at. Oh my god, I'm good at some video games. I'm a good writer. I play piano. Barely fit. I don't know. I don't have much to boast about, but I think oftentimes, sometimes it's the case. Sometimes they can back it up, but I think oftentimes boastful people cannot back it up. They're often quite insecure. I'm anything but. The only thing I'm insecure about is probably my height. Fuck it, I'll say it. I'm not very tall, and I wish I was. I wish I was taller. I don't care. Is that so wrong? Doesn't mean I feel bad about it, but I do wish I was taller. Doesn't mean I think I need to be to do well in life. But wish I was taller. I think I would look better. Very simple. It's almost the opposite of insecurity, actually. I'm very secure in the fact that I wish I was taller. If that makes any sense. I think it does. Anyway, so we've firmly crossed the hour mark, and we've just started another mission. So that tells you type of that this is a very special video, of course. You needed reminding. But yeah, I do really like this one though. I am a big fan of the explosive chemical bolts. I think they're a lot of fun. I think they're both very fun and very useful. I enjoy them quite a bit. Yes, quite a bit indeed. They work well with other things too. I actually have a weird thing where I actually like using them with cryo bolts, which is counterintuitive because an enemy being frozen actually cancels out the explosion effect when they die. But you use the bolts on separate enemies. You do not actually combine the bolts in that build. They also work well with bodkin points as well. It's all good stuff. Oh! Yeah, I kind of just can't hit things with the M1000, so I have to be like really fucking careful. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised I actually hit that. But most of the time I just wouldn't. What are you doing here? What the? I've got blow through on, don't I? Yes. What's that about? You move. Hi. Also, the thing I do actually know that's about. No, I almost said something that doesn't make any sense. Don't worry. was gonna get that. Thank you, dear. Let's carry on. You really need to see it against just a general, like, dense grunt horde, because that really shows what chemical bolts can do. They are quite good at just, you know, that kind of thing.
Glad to finally deposit. Felt like I was carrying a dreadnought on my back.
Maybe I do need to cut, although I feel like a swarm is about to happen. Like, right now. Right. Now. Okay, I actually wanted to do something there where I just skipped to a swarm, but some enemies showed up. Oh. Mecteras? Alright, there we go, we get our supplementary Borean damage. Well, I'm still going to try and use the bucket to take out some Mecteras. And I did, although it didn't kill any of them. Lovely. I'm never gonna hit a grab a weak point with the M1000. It's just not gonna happen. Just accept it. Well, I just can't do it. I just can't. And I think accepting it probably makes me worse at, like, lowers my chance of it ever happening by accident, but I've accepted it the way it is. But I just saw some decent explosive chemical bolt action there, taking out like up to two or more, usually two or more Mecteras at once. Stunning and fearing them quite well. I mean, a little bit of that is obviously Banshee module as well, which I like Banshee module. I think it's cool. A Banshee module is funny as well because it used to be like Bug to high heaven, where it could just literally fear anything, including the quite a few enemy types that can't be feared, like oppressors and bulk detonators and dreadnoughts. It could just make them run away. That's a very old bug though. It's actually extraordinarily old. I actually noticed a cave leech for once, without the aid of Born Ready. Anyway, I'm going to scavenge this cave for minerals. Hello. Whoa, just a light. Okay. Right. Okay. Just realised Tritolites actually perfect. Sometimes they're not, because I like to use Tritolites to basically just wave defense, fight the enemies as it spawns, but sometimes it's not great. But it will be, because it's just going to be hordes of grunts. It's actually perfect. Let's just do it. And do it.
Well, a Tritolite deposit. We thought we'd lost this one.
But the deposit's probably not in a nice place either.
Previous teams tried getting through the outer shell of this thing, but failed. We're sending in a nanite bomb dispenser for you. If those can't penetrate it, nothing will.
Oh, actually, that's actually in a really nice place. Like, realistically speaking, you drop it down, just throw them. I'm not gonna bother though. Come on, bring it on. Bring on the wall. I think Steve is like the perfect catalyst for grouping enemies together as well. Brilliant. You can actually see the radius on it, like pretty tangibly from these examples. Quite a big. I could probably find out quite easily actually. Oh guards, guard gang there. Run away. Okay, the actual effects of Banshee module don't last as long as I thought. And then because we failed the event, it kills everything. Anyway, now I've a bit, actually I am technically used more chemical bolts than anything else there. So I'm gonna leave the game running while I do some research. Gout, dairy, Boltshark. So, okay. Takes 10 poison damage per second. With about 18 seconds, that's 180. So that's, I think that's enough to kill a slasher actually. And then the explosion, 165 explosive area damage in a 4-meter radius, inflicts stun for 1 second, and 100% base fear chance. There you go. There's the information. Very interesting stuff. This guy. There's 2 of them.
Gotta wait for the recharge.
Damn it, I still have 1 bolt extra. Stupid. Although I can see there being a swarm, like, literally in just a second. Oh god.
Lloyd is up.
Yeah, they're gone. I'm actually not going to take a resupply. I should. I'm not going to, because I want to basically be completely out of ammo before I move on, so I can take 2 resupplies. I'm just a weirdo. I don't know why I do things, but how my brain works. Oh wow, that wasn't good use of a boomerang. Wait, what am I doing? That should be a Steve. Let's go, don't kill it, please. Oh, what the fuck?
The last of the wave is approaching you now. Keep it together.
Ah, you are. Okay. Can't really justify it, but I guess I can. I should take 2 resupplies really, because I'm moving on in quite a substantial fashion.
Grabbing ammo. Getting supplies.
But I can always store my bolts somewhere.
Lighting.
I actually could. It's kind of, it is dumb, but why not? They should just stay there. I think they might despawn. I'm not 100% sure if bolts despawn or not. I feel like I've seen them not be there when I expected them to be. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't work that you can get more by picking them up. It should, haven't. Oh, they're already inoperable. Is that because I'm at max ammo? It actually might be. Might be. Actually, we can find it pretty easily. Oh, they've just been deactivated for some reason. It might be because I got 2 max ammo. Like, I'm picking it up now. It also might not be that at all. Use special bolt for damage this time.
Flares. Recharging.
Sorry, Steve. Shit, not bad too. Oh well, overall pretty relatively efficient, I would say. Relatively. Hi.
Stunning throw stick. This is so sticky. Let there be light.
Do I want to use a special bolt on a Bibble Infector? I do. I do.
Molly, over here.
Alright. Oh. Oh dear.
Heading your way.
No, a fucking Mactera swarm. Close, is that 50, 60 meters? Like, close enough to use, to be honest. Fight them here, though. Come on, lads. Bring it on!
Hostiles incoming.
Ready? Whoa!
Bacteria tri-joint eliminated. Alien, go.
Pretty sure you can't do that with Oh no, actually, don't worry.
From A to D, skip it EMC.
I wasn't hoping to get lost Mac Terrors, but it hasn't been a bad thing. Nice. Okay. Here. That was weird. What? Now a breeder is a weird one. Oh, even weirder. Fuck me. This. Oh no! That could easily kill me. Okay, good. Good. All it takes is just raw firepower.
Go! Get to work!
Oh no! Shit, it's actually actual horde. Oh! Oh, sniped. Hey.
Thanks, Bosco!
Sam. Oh, it's blocked this nice. Ugh. What's that? Something else? Like something I hadn't heard before. Obviously, it's literally impossible.
Flares recharging. Lights up!
Hello, sir. How are you? Oh, don't do that.
What goes around comes around. Clipping one down.
App. Okay, that's okay. Good. Here we go, we did it. Oh, detonator, not a big problem. Thing is, you could use the stun sweeper to just stun it straight up if you wanted to, but if it's by itself, you're only going to stun it once. It's going to not last very long. But because we had enemies like Wardens and Praetorians to bounce off of, that made it a lot better. It's actually a better way to utilize the stun sweeper against the detonator.
Hate to wait for flare charging. Gotta go fast. I got the deposit.
Swarm detected.
You might notice that I'm going somewhat non-verbal. It's been going on for too long.
There be light.
These videos are not meant to be this long.
Time to find Molly.
I've made a fatal error. What are you doing up there?
Secondary objective completed. Fine job. Incoming. Smoke him if you got him.
Okay, it looks like it's going to be longer than an hour and a half. What? There was actually nothing close enough to bounce to. I don't believe that. I don't think I believe that. Sorry. Good news, everyone! Oh. You know how long it's been since I killed a Hoodie Hoarder? That might be the best. That might be the best way to do it as well. The chemical bolt. What the fuck, Molly?
Help me mine this. Light is up. Zippity. Oh yeah. Molly.
Should be done, but I'm about to get ambushed. So, whoa! Hi.
Come again. Die, fire.
Oh, that's not it. More.
See you, sucker.
The best thing actually about not taking the weak point damage bonus is that I can hit the Praetorian anywhere and it does the same amount of damage. The benefit of not taking weak point and taking arm breaking as well, especially because that means we can actually hit its body from anywhere.
Getting more ammo.
Drop pod has arrived. The mule has been called back.
Lighting up.
Drop pod departing in T-minus 5 minutes.
Someone on frozen boomerangs.
What goes around comes around. You want some more?
That it. Come on.
We better hurry.
Hell. What? Oh, why are there no enemies? Oh look, there's something. A couple of things actually.
Go fetch. Come and
What
get
the?
it. Your time is up.
There we go.
Ready to kill some more.
Pod departing in T-minus
Now I can actually leave. Anyway, so that was Specialist, and a Specialist build with every special bolt. I think it's actually ended up turning out very well. I think I showed what I think are generally the best approaches to take with all the special bolts, if that's like your complete focus. Because obviously the caveat is that if you just want to do the best you can with the special bolts, particularly,
Flares.
you kind of just use the Specialist. That's why I think the Boltshark is so layered, is because I don't think they're actually inherently the best ways to use them. As I established for pheromones, I do not think that's the best way to use those bolts. I think this is the one where it's the best, because I think there is genuine very good use for taser bolts as an accompaniment to Firehawk volley. And yeah, you can use explosive bolts with Bodkin points and have like a decent like crowd clearing bolt shark in general, but I think this is probably the best way to do it. Anyway, it just shows the layers that Specialist isn't inherently the best way to use the special bolts, but it's a safe way. It's a reasonable way. I think there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I don't think you have to use the exact weapons that I used. In fact, I think you can get away with a lot as far as weapons go, primary weapons. I think the builds I used are fairly like I wouldn't say there's much leeway, because this is the thing about DLG Historian. I agree that there's not much to gain from us being super dogmatic about how you should build weapons. At the same time, I think it's fairly just kind of objective that counterintuitive builds, just builds that are composed of upgrades that just do not work together, is not really how you should. It's just not. You're not going to have fun. You might, if you have fun with experimenting, that's actually a really good thing. But you're not going to have fun with using a build that's counterintuitive compared to one that is made to be cohesive. I think that's pretty true. So I think experimentation within certain boundaries makes a bit more sense. The boundaries of don't just slap shit together thoughtlessly, and I hope that I can provide a way to, not necessarily to just, this is just how you build stuff no matter what, but more so like a jumping off point for the set kind of the boundaries of what makes sense to play with. Where it's like, have a look at something. Explosive chemical bolts, this is it, it's perfect. You're not going to use magnetic shafts, but you could if you really want to get some extra damage out of your main bolts. But that doesn't make much sense if you're using specialists, because clearly your focus is on the special bolts. So while you could use magnetic shafts, it would make more sense to use different overclock like tri-thought volley. So you're going to just have to be pragmatic, basically. There's no point using stuff that makes no sense just for the sake of experimentation. But you're also not going to gain much out of just using one thing. So just be mindful about how you could use things. Also, I just got, finally, one of the new weapon maintenance paint jobs. Arkham or something. Have a look at that. The first time I've actually seen this in game. Oh. Actually, is that a Boltshark thing? It's got that weird sort of lighting thing. It's a little bit gravelly. But I like the colours. That's a bit weird. I can see this working with certain things. Maybe with no, but maybe splattered. I'm not sure. Pretty good. I think that'll be a showcase at some point. The Arkham paint job. And yeah, so that was Specialist, a really nice comprehensive overclock that complements everything the weapon can do. It's actually a really rare example of a clean having a lot of just room to work with. It's a really good overclock, easily A tier, I would say. So give it a shot. Don't feel tied down to what I've showed you today, but if you just need some guidance, if you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, then just come back to this and maybe there'll be something to help you. Anyway, as always, if you enjoyed this episode of Overclock Showcase, please make sure to like, subscribe, and if you want to see more videos like this, and you want to stay on top of everything to do with Deep Rock and Roll Call, then also click the bell. But now we get to the point where we find out what next week's Overclock is going to be. So we're on the final engineers, on the final secondary for a while, the final Gen 3 secondary. It's the Shard Diffractor's turn. One of my favourite weapons in the game. Sure. A wonderful thing. Am I actually using, I don't know if I want to use Rival Tech over whatever it was. What was it before? Decontaminated for a reason, because I think it actually has the colours on it. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, the Shard Diffractor. So how this works is I will number the overclocks from left, right, top to bottom. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we turn our attention to the Wheel of Fortune to find out what overclock it's going to be. There it is. And I just spin it and then find out. I guess I don't really want to do Overdrive Booster. Good, we're not doing Overdrive Booster. Is that efficiency tweaks or is that... Okay, it is. Number 6. It's efficiency tweaks, which honestly, I do really love Volatile Impact Reactor, but efficiency tweaks might be my favourite overclock on the Shard Diffractor. It's just so flexible. I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. This is perfect. I barely even have to practice. I'm not sure I have to practice at all. Actually, this is actually great. So I'll see you next week for efficiency tweaks. But until then, what's a specialist style drink? This randomizer could make sense. Or smart stuff. Let's do randomizer. Why not? Not that I'm going to use randomizer. I guess we could jump into a mission to see what build I actually got.
To rock and stone.
You boys better be better miners than you are
Actually, given that it's rich atmosphere, I'm just gonna jump into this. I probably won't do it like today. I can come back to it. What do I get? M1000. Yeah, this horrible mess of a creature. See what build we actually got. Oh, actually, levels still 199. Okay. You can go now, by the way. It's over, really. Visually speaking. What the fuck is this? Overclock. That's embedded data is booked correctly, and Stun Sweeper. Actually, there could be a lot worse. To be honest, I could probably do this. Not on the video, unfortunately. Sorry.
Time for a round of pest control, team. We got dreadnought cocoons on our scanners, and you get to eradicate.
No, actually, I don't want to do it at all. Actually, Alright, see ya.